Most people think you need a degree or insane connections or maybe thousands of flight hours to become a pilot, but I got into a cadet pilot program straight out of high school. And in this video, I'm going to tell you all about how I did it and my story before I got to the program. Now, I know what you're thinking. There's no way that this mysterious looking K-pop Demon Hunters fanboy Sigma on the screen right now is actually going to tell us about his whole story about how he did all that. There's got to be a catch, right? Well, no, there isn't. Not some online guru who's going to sell you some course for $497 per month talking about how to start a 9-figure business in a year. So you can drop that idea. You can trust me. I'm just here to talk about my experience as to how I got into this cadet pilot program at the young age of 18. And quite frankly, I don't need your money. I'm a pilot content creator, so you can just drop that idea. See, my only goal here is to actually make good content for you guys so you can learn and recommend more people to me, and from there, I get the money from the views. Alright, so with all that out of the way, let's finally get started. So first, we're going to start with the Pilot's Handbook of Aeronautical Knowledge. This is an FAA-approved pilot handbook with all the fundamental knowledge that you should know before you get into the cockpit. I know it's a long book, but today we're focusing on chapters 4, 5, 6, 7, 6, 7, and 12. And the reason why we're starting with these chapters only is because they're more like prerequisites to the rest of the book. These are the most basic principles you should know as a pilot, and they're also going to quiz you during the interview for the cadet pilot program. At least for me, they did, because these are the basic fundamental knowledge that you should know. So chapter 4, where we start, is going to be talking about the principles of flight. So here's my big stick. I jerk it around all the time when I'm using the simulator. You want to learn how to fly a plane, you have to read chapter 4. You have to know how to use the yoke. You side to side. If you're using the rudder, you're rolling like this, and you're pitching up and down. So you got to know how to use the yoke to fly the plane. Chapter 5 is more of the sciencey side. You're going to be learning about the forces affecting the aircraft while you're in the air. Chapter 6, flight controls, basically talking about all the buttons in that cockpit. I don't know if you noticed, but there's a lot of buttons there, so you may want to read about that. Chapter 7 is more of the aircraft systems. So they're talking about the avionics, the radar, the weather system, the de-icing on your windshield, all that. And chapter 12 is more of weather theory. So you do need to learn that because you have to be able to try to predict the weather and adjust your flight route as needed when you're on the go. But at this point in time, I actually read over these chapters multiple times because I did want a stronger grasp on this knowledge. And these chapters were actually kind of long, but most of them were short, because the rest of the book actually gets pretty long. Some of the chapters are longer than others, depending on the subject on the chapter. And I actually had to take a lot of notes because I couldn't obviously just remember all of this. On to the next thing. So whenever I'm not studying or when I'm done studying, I am camping in a tiny little cockpit on my Microsoft Flight Simulator. And as I said before, I have my big stick here. I'm always jerking around like that. So on the simulator, the goal was pretty simple. I had to land almost all of the planes in high-stakes situations. So what that means is I was tweaking it around with the weather and the time of the day to make it harder. And why I was focusing on the landing was because the landing is supposed to be the trickiest part of the flight. And that is why I made it as hard as I could by tweaking the weather. Maybe it was raining, maybe there was high wind making it really hard to align with the path. Maybe it was nighttime and I couldn't see shit because I'm Asian and I can't see already, making it worse for me. And that's basically how I got the feel for, what it's like behind the cockpit. Obviously, the simulator mimics almost all the physics, but not all of it. But that's really what I needed, because after I was done with the simulator, I got into a real cockpit of a small Cessna to actually get a feel for the actual aircraft. And I do recommend you get at least like 2 hours of flight experience. Maybe do like an intro flight. That's exactly what I did. And especially if you're in America or Europe, that's exactly what you should do, because in those areas, you're more likely to be able to find some flight school to let you do it, like an intro flight, 2 hours in the air, and that is going to help you a lot on your interview. So when I was actually in this intro flight, I was at cruising altitude. All I got to do was just to turn the plane around, go up, go down. You're not going to be able to take off or land because that aircraft is not going to be safe in your hands if you do so. But it is good to have the experience. You can also feel what it's like to be in a cockpit. You can feel the G-force. You can feel what it's like to move the aircraft around and adjust to adjust to everything around you. So it is a great experience to get before you do do the interview. And obviously, you should do it after you finish the simulator training, because after simulator training, can you only actually know how to control the aircraft. Before we get to the last point, I do want to make sure all of you guys are subscribed with notifications on, because I do post content like this and some other motivational, informational content on this channel. I also do shorts with my little sister, even though she's annoying as hell, but I still love her. And be sure to join my Discord server, because I do give lots of advice in my server, and I talk with you guys a lot in that server. For free, by the way. I'm not a guru charging you $4.97 a month for being a member of my server. So be sure to join up and subscribe to my channel. Or don't, because I don't like you, so you can go away now. Okay, so I'm sure most of you guys will probably have a hard time with this third point, because we're going to be talking about the pilot interview itself. And there are a few questions that they will ask in any cadet pilot interview, and these are the most important ones that they will look at. And if you answer them wrong, they will not give a shit about you. So, number one, why do you want to be a pilot? I want you to pause this and think about what you would answer with. All right, so let's compare answers now. I actually said, for my interview, I said I want to be a pilot because I was drawn to the physics and mechanics of the aircraft. So I was interested in that side, but I also said I was also a good fit to be a pilot because of my sport background. I was making quick decisions in high-stakes scenarios all the time. I worked on a team before, and that, I think, just made me into a good pilot because of the communication required to be a pilot. And also, the handling stress and making decisions under stress. That's what made me, that's what gave me the advantage. So this is probably the answer that they want to hear from you, because that's what's most important in being a pilot. It's not about just flying a plane. Anyone can pretty much learn how to fly a plane, and not everyone can learn the other skills like communication and all that easily. So flying a plane, anyone can learn in a few hours, but being a good pilot, not just flying a plane, that's something else, and that's, if anything, more complicated than flying the actual plane itself. They don't want to hear you say, "Oh, I like to travel. I like to pay. I like the benefits." Yeah, we know, all right? We know that we all love the pay. Thank you, Captain Obvious. So don't say that. I know it's true. I mean, if you don't like traveling, then why are you even trying to be a pilot? But they really want to hear you say the stuff that I just said. The second most important question they ask is, what are airline values? So if you're applying straight for an airline-run cadet program, they're going to ask you what are their airline values. And that's a pretty simple answer. Across all airlines, they have one value in common: the lives of the passengers. They want to ensure the comfort of the passengers because they want more people to be investing in their airline. So that is why their number one value will always be the comfort and safety of the passengers. Simple as that. Now, in some rare occasions, you're going to be put in a group interview instead of an individual one-on-one. And lucky for you, I've been through both paths. I know my way around both. And so in a group interview, it's going to be a little bit different. You're going to be put in a group with 10 other candidates in the same room, and you're going to be tested individually and as a group. So individually, they're going to ask you some aviation-related questions. So they may ask you what you would do if a suspicious baggage was going to be loaded into your plane. What's the first thing you're going to do? You're going to answer that on your own. And then, as a group, you may be given a math question. You may be given an aviation-related question. But it's going to be a little bit more work to be able to work out the answer. The answer might not be very straightforward, or it might not be very short. So that is why you're going to be placed in a group, and your goal is to just work together. You have to communicate, collaborate. Even if you get it wrong, they just want to see that you're working as a team. They want to see that you're not an asshole or doing jack shit in the corner. And if you're just a team player, then that's all they want to see, and you're going to pass. And that's that for this video. So if you guys like this one, be sure to subscribe for more of this content, as I will be posting more like this. Also, join my Discord server with the link in the description below. I'm active in the server if you guys want to talk or have any questions. And if you're not doing any of that, well, sucks for you, because you're not getting any new content. You're missing out on the good stuff, so it's your loss.